was a cold, misty night in 1838, and London streets were eerily quiet. The gas lamps flickered faintly, casting long, haunting shadows that stretched over the cobblestone streets. Few dared to walk alone after dark, for tales of a sinister figure leaping across rooftops had swept through the city. The rumors grew more grotesque with every retelling. His eyes burned red hot, he spat blue flames, and his fingers were ended in sharp, claw-like talons. They called him Spring-Heeled Jack. Mary Stevens knew of these stories, of course. Everyone did. But she was practical, and superstitions did not faze her. She clutched her shawl tightly against the biting wind, determined to reach her home after a long day's work. The fog was thick that night, rolling in from the Thames, making the city feel more like a maze of shadows and echoes. As she turned down a narrow alley on her way through Clapham Common, a shiver crawled up her spine. The hairs on the back of her neck prickled. She paused, listening. At first there was nothing, just a distant clop of horses' hooves on the main road. But then, there it was. A faint sound behind her. Footsteps, quick, sharp, almost as if someone or something was hopping from a place to place. Her heart began to race, and she quickened her pace. The footsteps grew closer, more erratic, until they were practically right behind her. She glanced back over her shoulder, eyes wide with fear, and then, thud! A figure leapt from the darkness, landing directly in front of her with an unnatural grace. Mary gasped and stumbled backwards, her back pressed against the cold stone wall. Her breath hitched in her throat, and she stared at the figure before her. He was tall, impossibly tall, his body wrapped in a tight black suit that shimmered in the dim light of the street lamps. A long, flowing cloak trailed behind him, and from beneath a helmet, two glowing red eyes pierced the fog like hot coals. It was him, Spring-Heeled Jack. Before she could scream, he lunged at her with an inhuman speed. His clawed hand reached out, grabbing her arm, and his touch was ice cold, like the fingers of death itself. Mary struggled, but his grip was impossibly strong. He pulled her close, his breath hot and sulfuric against her face, and then, with a low growl, he opened his mouth. A jet of blue fire erupted from his lips, illuminating his grotesque, sharp features in the ghostly light. "Help!" Mary screamed, finally finding her voice. Her cry echoed through the empty streets, but no one came. Jack's claws tore at her dress, the fabric ripping like paper under his talons. She kicked and clawed at him, her heart hammering wildly in her chest. For a moment, she thought this was the end, that she would be another victim of the terrifying figure who haunted London's nights. But suddenly, she heard voices in the distance, faint but growing close. Jack's head snapped up, his glowing eyes narrowing. He released Mary with a violent shove, sending her sprawling to the ground. Then, with a wicked grin, he leapt straight into the air, soaring over a nearby wall with a single bound, disappearing into the fog like a phantom. Mary lay on the cold ground, gasping for breath, her heart pounding as if it were to burst from her chest. She scrambled to her feet, her legs shaky but desperate to flee. Stumbling out of the alley, she nearly collided with two constables who had been running toward the sound of her scream. "Miss, are you all right?" one of them asked, his lantern casting a warm glow over her pale, terrified face. It was him," she stammered. "It was Spring-Heeled Jack." The constables exchanged worried glances. They had heard the stories, of course, but they were never expected to encounter the man, or monster himself. "Calm down, miss. You're safe now. He's gone." The second constable reassured her, though his own voice was tinged with uncertainty. "Let's get you home." Mary nodded, still trembling as she was escorted back to her house. But no matter how far she walked from the alley where she had been attacked, she couldn't shake the image of those glowing eyes, that horrific, leering face, and the sound of his maniacal laughter echoing in her ears. The next morning, news of Mary's encounter with Spring-Heeled Jack spread like wildfire. It wasn't the first time people had heard tales of the mysterious figure, but this was the most violent attack yet. Panic gripped London, and soon more reports came flooding in. Just a few days later, another attack occurred, this time even more terrifying. It was February 20th, 1838 when Jane Alsop, a 19-year-old living in the district of Bow, heard a knock on her front door. It was late, and her family had already gone to bed, but Jane was not easily frightened. She approached the door, hesitating only briefly before opening it. Standing outside was a man, dressed in a long cloak. He appeared to be a policeman, though in the dim light, she couldn't make out his face. "Please, miss," the man said urgently. "We've caught Spring Hill Jack in the lane. Bring a light, quickly." Jane's heart leapt at the mention of Jack, but the man's official tone calmed her. Without hesitation, she fetched the candle from inside and brought it to the door. As she stepped outside to hand it to him, the man's expression changed. His eyes gleamed with malice, and with a quick, fluid motion, he threw off his cloak, revealing a horrifying figure beneath. It was no policeman. It was Spring Hill Jack himself. Jane screamed as he lunged at her. His hands were cold as iron. His grip was as strong as steel. She tried to pull away, but Jack was far too powerful. With a hiss, he breathed the signature blue flame directly into her face, the heat searing her skin. Her screams filled the night air, and in the chaos, she managed to twist free from his grasp. Desperate, she ran back towards her house, slamming the door shut behind her. Her family, awakened by the noise, rushed downstairs to find Jane shaking in terror, barely able to speak. By the time they opened the door to confront the attacker, Jack had vanished into the night, leaving behind only the faint smell of sulfur and the trail of fear. Spring Hill Jack's legend continued to grow after the Alsop attack. Some said he was a demon, others believed he was a madman or a noble prankster. Despite numerous attempts by the police and local authorities to catch him, Jack always seemed to escape, leaping impossibly high over walls and buildings, vanishing into the fog like a specter. Sightings of him continued for years from London to Liverpool, each encounter more terrifying than the last. But who or what he truly was remains a mystery, a figure who leapt into the shadows of history, leaving only terror in his wake. To this day, the legend of Spring Hill Jack endures, haunting the darker corners of English folklore, a reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are those who leave no trace but fear. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Stone Rock. If you're new here, what we do here is we go over folklore, we go over some true crime, cryptids mostly. We do a little bit of debunking on the side. But today, we've got another one of those stories that kind of blurs the lines between true crime and folklore. This story, it's about Spring Hill Jack. If you don't know him, he's a rather mythical figure, if I can say that. Able to leap, 9-foot walls in a single bound and breathe blue fire. Pretty out there. Story takes place in 1800s England, London specifically. So, before we get into that, let me just say, hey, hope you guys are doing well. Christmas literally just passed. I'm actually recording this on Christmas Day because I have nothing else to do, so why not do some work? But if you like what we do here, why not like, subscribe, ring the little bell icon, that way you're notified whenever we upload new content. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you've ever heard of Spring Hill Jack or what you have to think about Spring Hill Jack. Any theories, concerns, anything like that. Leave it down below. Let me know what you're thinking. And without any further ado, let's get into it. In the early 19th century, London was a city growing rapidly, but it was also a place shrouded in mystery and fear. Strange things lurked in the fog, but none more frightening than a figure who would terrorize the streets for decades to come. Spring Hill Jack. It all began in 1837 in the district of Barnes, southwest of London. The first known sightings of Spring Hill Jack occurred when a young girl reported being attacked by a mysterious figure. She described her assailant as having claws sharp as razors and eyes that glowed with a strange blue fire. This attacker came from the rooftops, descending with such unnatural speed and precision that people began to talk. But this was just the beginning. The story of Spring Hill Jack had only just started to unfold. Soon, more sightings emerged. Reports of a strange sleeping figure terrorizing women and men alike spread throughout the city. His uncanny ability to bound over walls and houses earned him a chilling nickname, Spring Hill Jack. The name itself came from a strange ability to leap great distances, clearing fences, walls, and even rooftops with ease. Some believed he wore spring-loaded boots, while others thought it was something far more sinister, unnatural powers, or even something demonic. Perhaps the most famous encounter occurred on the night of February 19th, 1838. Jane Alsop, a 19-year-old woman from Bow, heard a knock on her door. Outside, a man stood, claiming to be a policeman. The man asked Jane for a light, claiming that he had caught Spring Heel Jack nearby and needed her help. Trusting him, she handed over a candle. But as the flame flickered, the man threw off his cloak, revealing a terrifying, true form. He grabbed her, his eyes burning red, and from his mouth came a jet of blue and white flames. His hands, cold, clawed, and inhuman, ripped at her clothes as she screamed for help. She managed to escape, but the incident spread like wildfire throughout the papers, cementing Spring Heel Jack's legend. Just a few days later, another attack followed. Lucy Scales, walking with her sister in Limehouse, was also confronted by a terrifying figure. This time, he stepped out of the shadows without warning, spewing fire directly in her face, leaving her paralyzed with fear. The people of London were gripped with terror. The authorities launched investigations, and vigilante groups began patrolling the streets, but no one could catch Spring Heel Jack. The police were flooded with reports, yet every time they arrived, Jack had already disappeared, leaping over walls and rooftops, vanishing into the fog like a ghost. Spring Heel Jack's reign of terror wasn't confined to London alone. Reports of his sightings began to spread to the surrounding counties, including Surrey, and even as far as Liverpool. His attack spanned years, starting in 1837, peaking in 1838, and continuing sporadically into the 1870s and beyond. From the late 1830s through the 1870s, Jack was seen all across England. In Sheffield, he was spotted leaping over houses. In Liverpool, he reportedly attacked a group of people, always vanishing before anyone could catch him. But who or what was Spring Heel Jack? Many theories emerged, some more outlandish than others. Was he an aristocrat playing a cruel prank on the common people? Some pointed to the eccentric Marquis of Waterford, known for his mischievous behavior. Others believe that Jack was a supernatural entity, a demon summoned to punish London for its sins. His ability to leap great distances and breathe fire seemed to suggest something far more than human. Despite the mystery, or perhaps because of it, Spring Heel Jack became a part of British folklore and pop culture. He was immortalized in Penny Dreadfuls, where his story took on new life, sometimes as a villain, and other times as a misunderstood hero. Over the years, Jack has appeared in literature, theater, and even video games. His legend has been passed down through the generations, leaving behind a lasting mark on the imagination of those fascinated by the strange and unexplained. To this day, no one knows the true identity of Spring Heel Jack. Was he a clever prankster, a misunderstood creature, or something far darker? His name still lingers in the shadows of London, and his legend remains an unsolved mystery. Beware the streets at night, for you never know when Jack might return. And if you hear footsteps on the roof above, it might just be him. So that's it, guys. That's it for my take on Spring Heel Jack. Now, I have theories. There's it certainly could have been a man. I don't know about leaping over 9-foot tall walls or jumping onto roofs of houses. I know I certainly couldn't do that. I could barely manage a 3-foot leap myself, but that would certainly take somebody of greater than athletic ability, or greater than Olympic ability, to jump onto a wall. I don't know. Being 1830s into 1870 as well, I don't know what kind of technology there would have been to help this man clear walls or anything like that, or even breathe fire. You could possibly think about maybe he had a light inside of his helmet, because it said that he wore a helmet, or at least a partial helmet. So maybe there was some sort of mechanism in his helmet that whenever he would drop his jaw would spark, and then he could spew chemicals out. There are certain chemicals that will burn blue. We see it all the time in fire dust. You sprinkle it into the fire, it changes the fire colors. So there is stuff out there that can do it. Alchemy was certainly a thing back then, so you could safely assume that people knew how to do that with fire. It's all just speculation at this point. It's been over 100 years since that happened, almost 200 years, believe it or not. And just the fact that this continued for over 40 years in and of itself, 1830 something to 1870 something, almost 40 years. If the man was in his prime, 18 to 28 years old when it started, he would be late 50s into his 60s by the time it ended. So I doubt that he would be able to leap distances based on athletic ability alone at that age, unless he were, Olympic level or even higher. So, there are just things. A lot of it kind of just seems like exaggeration, when people have the adrenaline going, their memories are not the greatest thing in the world. Human beings are certainly fallible in the memory department. So, was it all made up? Was it all legend? Was it all mass hysteria? Probably. Were there copycats? Most certainly. Most certainly. You get a group of guys together and they're like, hey, did you hear about this Spring Hill Jack fella? We could do this in our neighborhood. I could see that happening wholeheartedly. But anyways, I'm going to stop spouting off nonsense here and sign off. I hope you guys had a good holiday. I hope you enjoyed this episode, this little window in to Spring Hill Jack. He's honestly one of my favorite stories from London. London has some cool stories. Unfortunately, people were attacked. Unfortunately. Everybody seems to have lived, though. There was no murders. Nobody was killed. So it's better than the Hammersmith ghost where, the homie was unfortunately unalived because somebody was like, hey, I'm a vigilante. I'm going to go hunt a ghost with a shotgun. Not a good look, but I'm glad we don't hunt ghosts now with shotguns. Anyways, if you like what we do here, like, comment, subscribe, ring the little bell icon, that way you're notified whenever we upload new videos. If you want to check out the merch, there's merch shelf down below the video. There's also a link in the description to the 10K giveaway video. We're still doing the 10K giveaway, by the way. We're at 4,600 subs. Well, 4,640, I think. We still got a long way to go to 10K, but once we get to 10K, we are going to give away merch. Like I said, when I came up with the idea for the 10K giveaway. So go watch that video. It's got all the details for the giveaway in it. That's down below. You can also become a member if you want to support the channel. Members get videos early when I can remember to do it. You get your names flown across the video now. And members get their own videos on the occasion that I can remember to do that. So this video will go up early for members. The members currently will get their names flown. And yeah, if you want to directly support the channel, there's a PayPal link up in my bio. Everything that is obtained through PayPal gets put back into the channel. That way I can keep all of this kind of stuff going and keep myself in energy drinks. So I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day. Peace out.